Hey everyone, welcome to episode 116 of BrewTalk with Mr.Beer. My name is Robert Lewis, and I'll be your host for today's show. As always, we appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in and watch all of our videos. If you want to reference our notes for this video or any other of our past videos, you can find those on our blog page, mrbeer.com/blog. All the written stuff is in there. I'm filming from a little different location today, so hopefully the sound is good and not too echoey. Did the best I could to adjust for that, but the BrewTalk videos must go on no matter where we are located at. So we got an interesting topic for you guys today, something that I think I saw a question for in the Facebook group a long time ago, and I just kind of forgot about it. It sparked an interest in my head, but it's basically how to make hard root beer with your Mr.Beer kit. So if you've been a long time customer a while back, we did have a hard root beer kit. We called it hacked root beer. Like it's discontinued now and no longer offer. You can still brew up a batch just using the regular ingredients that we offer on the website and stuff like that. I'm going to reference my notes a little bit for this one because I don't have it memorized, so bear with me while I look down and up a lot at the screen. So you need a few things to get started here for your hacked root beer or for your hard root beer to brew. You'll need a standard refill, US-05 ale yeast, a root beer refill, and a root beer caps in gasket strip. You also need to have a fermenter that you're not afraid to toss or possibly never use again, and either glass bottles or some plastic bottles that you might need to toss or never use again. I'll explain the reason for that here in a second. I guess right now. So the main reason for that, see, I thought I put that farther in my notes, but I didn't. So the main reason you want to have the second fermenter and the extra bottles that are plastic that you might want to get rid of is because that root beer flavoring can leach the root beer flavor into your plastic bottles. So you can leach into your fermenter or into your beer bottles so that can continue on as you keep brewing. It takes a while to kind of get out of there. So if you brew like a hard root beer, then you brew like a Bavarian after that or a wheat beer, it's going to taste like a little bit like a root beer. So it's kind of something that you want to be aware of. So if you have an old fermenter, they're not using that often, you can use that. If you have old bottles or glass bottles, that's what I recommend for this. But with the second fermenter, you're not going to ferment in it. It's using as more of a mixing vessel. So it doesn't have to necessarily be like with the lid and all that setup, just something where you can mix it in. You can even use like a different pot if you wanted to, as long as a spout to bottle from, and you can get very creative with what you want to do with this. Now the brewing part is very easy. So you'll brew up your standard refill as the normal brewing instructions for a standard refill. We had the kit, we did the classic American light refill because it was just a light beer, a light base, so it really brought out the root beer flavors. But if you want to get crazy and experiment with an Oktoberfest, stout, a root beer IPA, if you want to get real crazy with it, you can do different stuff like that. So you brew your center refill, let it ferment, let it do its thing. So once your beer is done fermenting is when you'll need your second fermenter. So you'll want to sanitize that as well. So I recommend getting probably an extra pack of sanitizer too that I did not mention earlier. And that second fermenter, you want to add 2 to 3 cups of white or brown sugar, depending on how sweet you want it to be. The more sugar, the more sweet your root beer is going to be. Then you want to transfer your beer that's in for your fermented beer in your fermenter into that second fermenter with the sugar in it. I'm going to make sure you're using a sanitized tube for this. Just find one that fits on the outside of the spigot and let it run into the fermenter and transfer it that way. If you got a good setup with the bottling one, you can even use that too. Maybe just take the little adapter off it, and when you just let it run, it'll just run out. You just really want to try to prevent aeration during this stage, because if you get a bunch of aeration and the beer's kicking up a lot, it's going to create some funky off flavors that aren't going to be super enjoyable for your root beer. So once your beer is transferred into the second fermenter, you will add the 2 packets of root beer mix that come in the root beer refill, and then you will mix slowly with the sanitized spoon until the sugar is dissolved and everything is mixed and is nice and friendly in there. Like I said, you want to be careful mixing as well. You don't want to aerate your beer, so be very careful with that. You just don't want that off flavor in your beer. So from there, you will bottle your beer like you normally do. You'll need carbonation drops of sugar to create the CO2. All those regular steps that are part of the bottling process remain the same. The only difference is instead of using like the regular black caps, you'll use the root beer caps and gaskets that I mentioned earlier. If you ever brewed our root beer, what we have is we have caps with a hole in them, and there's a gasket in there because they build up a lot of CO2 with all of that sugar in there. So if you don't do that, your bottles will most likely explode. So when I said glass bottles earlier, scratch that one. Don't use that. See, this is figuring out things on the fly. When you think something sounds good when you're typing it up, then you're talking about it, and then no longer sounds good. It's a terrible idea. do not use glass bottles. Use your plastic bottles. Have something that you definitely want to get rid of. Hopefully you didn't watch the first 2 minutes and you kept watching. You caught that and are going to use glass bottles. So once you bottle it, like I said, use the special caps in the gasket. And then that's it. You're going to let it sit for 2 weeks, carbonate condition, and it's ready to drink. If you have any questions about this, shoot customer service an email. They'll be glad to help you out. If you're looking for like the actual instructions of a hacked root beer, you just Google Mr.Beer hacked root beer instructions. You'll find them there. It basically outlines the process that I explained to you here. It's a little different just because it's not a formal instruction, so it's a little more informal process. But you can also reference the written notes here, and that will get you everywhere you need to go. So that's going to wrap it up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully it was easy to listen to and not too echoey with the sound. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like or a comment. We really appreciate that. If you can share it, share it. Make sure you're following us on all our social media platforms. We are at Mr.Beer on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And that's going to wrap it up for this week. I will talk to you guys next week. Cheers.